sometimes, I don't know if you have friends that do this, but they use debit cards and they pay in cash and stuff, and I respect that because I was like that for a while. In fact, it took me a long time to actually invest in the stock market and stuff. I just kept putting money in my savings account, basically putting it under my bed. And then I was like, well, you know what? If I have the money to pay off these credit cards, I get 3% cash back on this. My girlfriend, shout out Maya, she's like made me get all these credit cards, and she's like, you need to be getting this and doing it for that. And I'm like asking her questions. I'm like, we're at the grocery store. What do I use? Like, and that's when over the past couple of years, I started to think, okay, like if I already am able to pay off a credit card, why would I use my debit card when it's basically a discount almost, right? And then you get points.
Correct. Yeah, it's also, I mean, the way we're typically taught about credit is like, you're taught to be like as risk averse as possible in school. Like, don't use credit cards, you're gonna get into debt, and then you're gonna be in trouble. I mean, if you don't use them smart, that's true. Like that will screw you. But like if you're decently financially responsible, then it only makes sense for a bunch of reasons. I mean, you have the point side, which is one, but you're also building credit history. So now when you get auto loans, you get mortgages, all this stuff, you're getting better rates. Yeah. You're also, there's fraud protection on a debit card. If someone like rips you off, it's gone. Like it's really hard to get that money back. Credit card, you just call the company and be like, look, this was an illegal charge or like whatever, fraudulent charge. Your money's back. There's so many benefits to it, and we're not talking about like the business side, and like if you want to start a business, and like how that works too. Yeah. But overall, it's definitely just like a significantly smarter move.
Yeah, totally agreed, man. And you talked to me about your 5 sort of major points of emphasis, and that kind of brings us into step 1, which is optimizing your personal credit. Let's just say, kind of from like the average person perspective, if I just graduated college, or if I'm in college, or at any point in life, what does that kind of look like? Optimizing my personal credit. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so you want to optimize, like, obviously the way that it works is there's a credit score. Right. And so just for like really high level basics, 3-digit number, basically can go up to 850. And to get premium cards, you got to have a high credit score. That's what lenders are looking at when they're deciding you're credit worthy or not, and they want to lend to you, right? So they can give you a credit card. So you want to have your score above a certain point. Typically for like top level cards, you want to get at least 700. Ideally, over like 720, 730 is really good. But one of the big things is a lot of people don't realize there's like multiple credit scores, and then there's multiple credit bureaus too. So like your credit score will vary, and the way it works is like if you apply for a card, that bank is going to decide, okay, we're going to maybe look at Equifax or Experian or TransUnion, or sometimes a couple or all three, and your scores may vary based on which credit bureau you're on, because each credit bureau collects different information on you. Okay. So all of that to say, like, you want to make sure you're checking the right score and actually seeing what the lenders are going to see. Yeah. Because what happens to a lot of people is they go onto like Credit Karma, which is a free credit score credit monitoring app, and they're going to see what's called a Vantage score. And so that's like, there's 2 different scoring models used. Yeah. And the Vantage score is good to see what your score's at, but that's not the actual score that a credit card company is going to look at. They're going to look at what's called your FICO score. Gotcha. So anytime you want to check that, you have to either pay for it or be part of a service like a credit card that gives it to you. Okay. But that's the score you actually need to check, because sometimes they vary a lot. Like some people will check Credit Card and be like, I don't get why. This actually happened to someone today. It messaged me. I got denied for this card. I understand it. Like I have like a 725, and I'm like, where do you check your score? I'm like, Credit Karma. I'm like, check my FICO or credit check total, and I look at it. It's like a 670. I'm like, oh, that's why. So you want to make sure you're checking the right place first. Okay. That's number 1. And then from there, there's basically 5 factors of credit. And the biggest one is payment history. So you really can't have late payments. And you want to build as much positive payments as you can. So that's another factor of why, again, having credit cards, having more cards, slowly build over time will actually improve your score. So you have more on-time payments. So that helps improve your score a lot. And I could jump into kind of how that breakdown of all the factors if you want. Yeah. But I would say that's one. You want me to kind of get into a couple of these factors real quick?
Whatever you think would be honestly most valuable, just from a high level perspective.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll break them down. Payment history is number 1. Getting as many on-time payments as you can will help the most. Right. And I'll talk about in a second how you can basically boost all of these areas with like a pretty quick hack. Number 2 is called utilization. So this is how much of the credit you are lended versus how much you borrow, or how much you use, on a monthly basis. So if you have 3 credit cards with a $10,000 limit, your total credit line is $30,000 across all your cards. Right. Maybe you use $3,000, so you're at 10%, which is really good. Right. So you want to be under 30% for that for sure, like to get approvals, and ideally under 10% if you want like the highest possible score. Okay. So that's number 2. That's utilization. And you got age of accounts. Now, this is going to be the average age of all your credit accounts. So every credit cards, loans, all this stuff, average that out. That's your average age.
Okay.
And so this is the hardest one for young people to improve because if you're 21, you've had a card for 1 year, like your average age is 1. Like it's not very good. And you want it to be over 9, really. Like that's the goal. So again, I'll talk in a second on how you can kind of boost that as well. But that's the third aspect. Then you have credit mix, which is basically the different types of financing you have, whether it's loans, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, mortgages. So the more different types of credit that you've had and been like a good borrower with, the more your score is going to go up.
Okay.
And if you think about it logically, it kind of makes sense because like if you were lending someone money, you'd want to know like, have they borrowed money from other people? Have they paid it back on time? Have they done like a bunch of different deals and like been okay? So think of it logically like that. And then the last one is called new credit, or basically like how many inquiries you have. And so that's going to be like if you're applying for a bunch of stuff, you're going to get a bunch of inquiries on your report, which will hurt your score a little bit in the short term. It bounces back, and it's the smallest factor of credit. So like a lot of people freak out. They're like, I have 2 cards and I don't want to open a third. Like I need to cancel one, right? It's like no, it's the opposite. You should get more cards over time to build good credit. To actually have a perfect score, you need to have over 21 different credit accounts reporting to your report. Doesn't have to be just credit cards, but like across all credit, you can go over 21 accounts. Yeah, so most people are thinking backwards because they're like, I'm going to get a new card. It's going to hurt my score, right? It's like you might get an inquiry and it might hurt your score a little bit for the short term, but in the long term, it's much better. Okay? And when you understand the 5 categories a little bit more, you can see it's pretty obvious. Like you're like, okay, I get a new card, so my utilization goes down, which is good. My payment history goes up, which is good.
Right.
My average age will go down a little bit, so that hurts a little bit. And my credit mix goes up, that's good. My new credit goes up a little bit, that's bad. So, but like if you know like how it's weighted, then it's like pretty obvious that a new card in most cases is going to help you.
I'm so glad that I had you explain that. Actually, you just like great job, by the way. You're very good at explaining that.
Yeah, glad that landed. So
yeah,
that's the breakdown. But here's the hack. So there's a thing where if people are young and they're starting out, and you talk about like your parents adding you. There's a thing called being an authorized user, which is also known as credit piggybacking.
Yeah,
and so basically, someone can add you to that card, and what's going to happen is the entire history from just that card, not their entire credit profile, just that card, is going to show up on your credit report and basically factor in like it's on you, like it's your card, right? So let's say you are brand new out of school, you're 23, and you have 1 year of credit history, and then your parent adds you to a card that has 20 years of history, and you have 2 cards. Now your average age is 10 years. So that goes up a lot. And then plus, they may have hundreds of on-time payments from that card. Now it looks like you have hundreds of on-time payments. Plus, they have a high credit line. So if you use a little bit of your credit, your percentage of utilization goes down, so your score goes up. So that's a quick way to boost your score. And you can do a couple of those. You shouldn't do like a ton, but you can do a couple authorized users. And it's awesome. Now, and the other thing that happens is a lot of people will be really nervous to do this because they're like, well, my parents may not want to give it to me. Typically what you just do is you say, hey, add me as an authorized user. Don't even give me the card. I don't even want to spend on it.
Yeah.
And it's a one-way street. So only what they do can impact you, good or bad. If they miss the payment, it's going to screw you.
Yeah.
But nothing that you do can go back to them unless you like literally took the card and spent money, then they would have to pay it off. But otherwise, people just add you, and there you go.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's big time. And that's a huge thing because like a lot of people can't get over certain hurdles of like their credit score, and they think it's going to take 3 years.
Yeah.
You can do that and be up and running in like a month.
So what if I'm a parent? How early should I start thinking about those sort of things in this day and age?
If you're a parent?
Yeah, if I'm a parent and I'm going to have kids, should I start thinking about getting them a credit card the day they're born? Is it sort of like the same idea as a college fund?
Yeah,
how does that work?
I think it depends on the card of how early you can add someone. But
okay.
Yeah, but like, so if you didn't add, like, they don't need a credit score when they're 15. So if you add them when they turn 18, then it's all that history is still going to show up there. So it doesn't really matter.
Okay, got it.
What I would think about if I was a parent was I should really keep my oldest card open so that when my kid is 18, I have a card with 40 years of history and I add him and it's like his score is going to be skyrocketed. He's going to get better opportunities for everything.
Do they have to be related to you, Eli?
No.
Okay.
There's a business in this too where people will sell trade lines, is what it's called.
Yep.
Like basically a credit account can be called a trade line. I think you're freezing up on me here.
Keep going. I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. So a credit account's called a trade line. So people will sell trade lines too. Like for example, a lot of people where they get stuck is they have high utilization, specifically business owners I talk to because they start a business and they run everything through personal credit. And like, oh, I had to buy this new thing like for my business and I had to put it in my card. and now their utilization's at like 70%, 80%, and like that's really bad. And now they can't get new cars, and they're kind of stuck. So some people will go out and look for like a car, like a credit account they can add to their report. Yeah. And some people will pay for it. I don't suggest doing that because usually you can just find someone in your personal network. Yeah. Or your family, and then that will fix a lot of the problems that are coming up for you.
Beautiful, love it. And that was optimizing your personal credit, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it. that's how you optimize.
Hey, what's up? And thanks for watching that video. You looking for more content now? I got your back. Go to my YouTube channel right now, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you turn on all notifications so you never miss any upcoming exclusive artist interviews, Sherm in the Booth clips, new music, live sets, and more. This is your one-stop shop for everything electronic music. Cheers.